To the Oculus halftime.
Welcome inside Studio H in Los Angeles. I'm Rachel Nichols. I'm here with Richard Jefferson, Chauncey Billups, two NBA champions. And guys, Anthony Davis would like to be an NBA champion, scored 31 in Game 2, but not showing that tonight, Chauncey.
Well, I'll tell you what, you shared a story about after Game 1, between Game 1 and Game 2, AD sat in his room saying, what would the late, great Kobe Bryant tell me? So he comes out in Game 2 and absolutely dominates. Come out in Game 3, he's 1 for 3 from the field, 4 for 9 from the free throw. If this team wants to be champions, trust me, the late and great Kobe Bryant will say dominate every game, every quarter. That performance right there for a great player like that, that's not going to get it done.
And really, with the Lakers, we talked about shooting. Shooting is not just three-point shots, which they're struggling in. It's also the ability to knock down free throws. They are 18 for 31. Look at these numbers. If they were just shooting a pedestrian 75% from the free throw line, they'd be up going into half.
Do you know what they call those shots at the foul line?
Free.
Free. They call them free.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
I'm just saying. All right, LeBron James, 22 points. The Lakers going to try to push them a little bit. Now, they're only down by 4, even after all those free throws missed. LeBron's going to see what they can do in the second half. Stay tuned.
LeBron taking this very serious, too.
This halftime.
Let's check out Game 3 action. Rockets Thunder. 13 seconds to go in regulation. Rockets down 1. Now, Daniel House draws the foul, heads to the free throw line. Guys, he only makes one of them.
I have no idea why Noel was in the game at that point. We called that before it happened.
Accident prone. The most clutch team in the league.
All right, now Chris Paul in overtime. Harden has fouled out by this point. Chris hits the long 3. Thunder get the win and cut the series 2-1. Let's step onto the court with the Oculus front row view. Damian Lillard, 19 points in the first half. He's going for the win
All I
here,
know is
guys.
I got my popcorn ready.
Check out the second half right after this. Rachel Nichols alongside two men with fancy NBA championship rings. Richard Jefferson made 4 trips to the finals, and the very efficient Chauncey Billups, because in 2004, he not only became NBA champ, but finals MVP. Mr. Big Shot, welcome as well. The Lakers blew out the Blazers in Game 2 by 23 points, guys. So, Chauncey, what do you think changed for LA? Because they lost Game 1 of this series.
Well, what changed is playing AD a lot of minutes after 5. And what that does is it takes, for one, offensively for you, it opens up the floor for him to be able to really move and groove down there. You don't have JaVale McGee, you don't have the White down there, not 2 7-footers. But on the flip side, it makes Portland take one of those 7-footers off of the floor. They like playing big, Whiteside, Nurkic. A lot of guys down there, they play with a lot of length. I thought in Game 1, Portland's length really frustrated the Lakers. Well, you play AD at the 5, you take one of the bigs off, because now LeBron moves to the 4, even though he's facilitating. You're not going to have a 7-footer guarding LeBron James.
No.
Yeah, and look, it worked for the Lakers in Game 1. They got 10 more shots than the Blazers. They just didn't make any. So I think, to your point, if you take one of those bigs off the floor, now you have another opportunity to rotate one of the smaller players in to find someone that can make a shot. You got KCP, JR, Kuzma, Caruso. You got all of these guys. 3 of them need to play well in order for the Lakers to do what they need to do, especially moving forward. So I think taking that big off the floor, even though it's an advantage for them, even if they have both bigs, it allows them to rotate one of those smaller guys to see if they can knock down shots.
You may also have Rajon Rondo. Frank Vogel announcing before the game that he is active for tonight. Remember, he missed basically a month with a hand injury. Would you depend on him tonight, Chauncey?
I would. I trust Rondo. I mean, he's a champion. He's very competitive. To have another playmaker on the floor takes pressure off of LeBron a little bit. And also, I mean, he's a great distributor, great passer. He's going to be really smart defensively. One of the best IQs I know that I ever played against. So I like having Rondo out there, even if he's not quite all the way back. That leadership is going to be a big deal.
Well, in just a few minutes, you just, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here, because ultimately you don't want to not play him and then need him later in the series. The sooner you can incorporate him back into the mix, the sooner he might be ready for Game 6 or a possible Game 7 type situation.
And guys sometimes get a reputation in the playoffs, and then you look at the numbers and it's not really there. Playoff Rondo is a thing. If you look in every major statistical category, his numbers go up in the playoffs, so he knows when it is time to show up. All right, coming up, I'm going to ask Richard and Sean here to the jump. Lakers superstar LeBron James led the league in assists this season, but he's also the leading scorer in NBA playoff history. So, Richard, You have played with the version of LeBron that could take over a game.
Yes.
That's not the version that we have seen so far here in these first couple playoff games. Which version do the Lakers need to get them to the finals and to win it?
Well, it's such a weird dynamic for a player like him because he's got to get these other guys involved in the first 3 quarters, right? Because he's got to make sure that they're knocking down shots, that they have their confidence, because we can see they're not the most confident group. They're not shooting the ball well. Yep. So he's got to get them involved while also scoring. So you just got to trust his basketball IQ and kind of watch what he's going to do. He scored 10 points last game, and they won in a blowout. And then the game before that, he did something that had never been done in NBA history with 25, 17, and 16, and they lost. So it's just a matter of him trying to figure out how to get those other guys' confidence up.
Yeah, and the way most of his teams have been built over the years, and RJ will attest to this, is he has to facilitate because they have a lot of specialists, guys that really can't get the, might be a defensive guy or a shooter. He has to facilitate, and that's his instinct, his first instinct anyway, is to make the right play, the best play, not particularly to score. But I think right now having AD allows him a chance to kind of do those kinds of things. But he's been one of the best guys ever, and I've seen maybe the best version of him, obviously, you know, have nightmares.
Yeah.
Right.
But he's going to have to pick his spots really, really good in this playoff series. And he's going to have to go get you 10, 12 points in a row sometimes. Yeah. Now lay back. He's going to have to facilitate sometimes. But the biggest problem is they can't make threes.
Well, so you say this guy's a shooter. It would be nice if one of the guys on the floor he had to worry about was a shooter. That's not really happening so far with this team.
Yeah, no, and even when we say shooting, it's not just three-point shots. It's free throws. Over the course of his career, he had Ray Allen, Mike Miller, James Jones, Kyrie Irving, Kyle Korver, guys that last 3-4 minutes of the game, certified shooters that like, okay, here, we're up by 2. Here's the free throws, go knock them down. They don't even necessarily have that on this team. So even closing out the games, if you're tight, if it's a tie game with 5 minutes to go, that game is going to favor the Portland Trail Blazers.
Well, the idea always with LeBron for much of his career, and this happened in Miami and it happened in Cleveland, was, hey, surround him with those three-point specialists, with the shooters. When he came to L.A., Rob Pelinka, the general manager, just came out and said, we are going to try something different. We see him more as a facilitator. Didn't work so well in the first year. They made some adjustments for the second year. Chauncey, I wanted to ask you, though, because really LeBron's welcome to the NBA moment on the playoff stage was against you. I don't mean to bring it up, but when he scored all
really doing this? You really doing this, huh, Ray?
all of those points.
We're going to talk after this. I don't like
But they beat us first.
Right, that's true. And then they got to you. But do you think, I mean, obviously, he's not the same person at age 35, almost 36, as he was in his early 20s. But do you think he can still go out and do that if he has to?
No, not that. He did to us. He's not going out and doing that anymore. However, he's physically imposing. Okay, he can get on that block and go score. He can pick you apart with how he can facilitate. But I'm telling you, I really believe that he needs to be a little bit more of a scorer at this point, and particularly when AD's not rolling. Say they're taking the ball out of AD's hands. They don't have anybody else to go to. LeBron has to be that guy. That's not really his thing. He's going to make the right play. The right play right now is probably to score.
Yeah, and that's where Rondo comes in.
There you
because
go.
Rondo now can handle the ball and also maybe get him an easy bucket here, take him off the point guard. And you see what they're doing with Gary Trent Jr. They're full court pressing him, just trying to wear him down, That might not affect him in the first, second quarter, but by the fourth, when they're, hands on the knees, grasping for air, that's when you start to see it. So having Rondo on the floor can take him off the ball, maybe get him an easy bucket, maybe kind of get his rhythm.
And Rajon Rondo, of course, has missed the last month because he had the hand injury, came back to the bubble, came out of quarantine, and Frank Vogel, the coach, said he will be active tonight. So we'll see what role he takes. We'll also see what we get from Anthony Davis. The LA Times posted a story today where Anthony said that he was laying awake at night after Game 1, wondering what Kobe Bryant would say to him. What if I could text Kobe, be more aggressive? So we saw that from him, certainly, in Game 2. We haven't seen the Lakers' three-point shooting. I do want to just get back to that real quick, because do you guys think against a team like Portland, we saw Damian Lillard's range, right, in that clip, that they can keep up if they just don't have the three-point shooting come to pass?
Not in the last 3 minutes. If in the last 3 minutes the Lakers need like a 5 to 6, 7 points, I just personally believe watching these teams play, Dame has done it time and time again. Yep. LeBron James, AD, if they don't have the shot making, if the guys aren't knocking down shots, you got to give them a fight. Nobody in this league wants to go shot for shot. The only backcourt that could go shot for shot with the Portland Trailblazers are sitting at home, and that's Steph and Clay.
And listen, you see who they're showing a picture of right there.
Yeah.
They have to play J.R. Smith. They just have to, okay? He's the type of guy, he's a lightning rod. You know, he can come out there and he can make 4 threes and a half for you. And he's also the guy that can go 1 for 8 and then the last 2 minutes make 2 huge threes. He's going to be locked in defensively. They have to find a way to get some minutes out there for JR.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how they handle it. A lot of new guys in the rotation. Remember, J.R. Smith just joined this team when they went into the bubble. It's all happening for the LA Lakers. Coming up next, Richard and Chauncey are going to give us their game picks. Stick around for that. We will take you right up to Lakers Blazers.